Didn't really think I'd ever have to say what I'm about to say. I've been pretty quiet about certain things that have been going on, at least in public. Said stuff on Twitter, but never really put all my thoughts together. Because I didn't really think that I could at first. And I will say this. Christmas was a very good time to step away from some stuff and really think about what was going on. So, Richard C. Meyer, many of you know as your boy Zach, is dropping a lawsuit, or has dropped the lawsuit against Mark Waid. It was agreed upon by both parties. Any monetary agreements or anything like that, not that I doubt that there are any, were not made public, and so on and so forth. Mark Waid did not have to admit fault. He may have admitted it privately to Richard, or maybe he didn't. The statement that was put out there was kind of just fluff. It was basically just BS about COVID, Richard made money, blah, 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 blah. I thought to myself, where exactly do you go from there? Kind of feels like the biggest fight is over, if you think about it. Mark Waid is a prick. I had shirts made up for myself, for Hatman and Aiden Paladin when we went to go speak at the International Conference on Men's Issues as a bit of solidarity with your boy. Because what Mark Waid was trying to do to him was fucked up. And even if Richard was successful, though I'm very happy for his success, obviously, I'm back to some of his projects. On the flip side, one thing you have to think of is this. It's not just about the money. It's about striking a blow against cancel culture. 2020 was not a good year for very many people. I had a good year, oddly enough. Despite all the nonsense that went on, I had, Inglewood came out and was successful in regards to its launch. We're doing a second chance campaign, or we did a second chance campaign for the few people that were stragglers, sold some merch to, so on and so forth. And then, of course, 3 Nights, 4 Days had a very successful campaign. The book is over halfway finished, and we are over 22 grand funded. It's my biggest campaign yet. And not that I've had that many, but point being is that, on my end, not to mention, this is the year that I got to, become a full-time writer. I don't work for, in the insurance industry. I don't work in security anymore. I don't have to do these jobs that I don't want to do. I get to do what I want to do. I get to do what I'm good at. And I get paid for it. Enough to live on. More than enough to live on. Pretty fucking nice, huh? Here's the thing. When it comes to all of the talk about who did what, when, where, and why, I don't really feel like I even want to throw blame at one person or whatever. I think that ultimately a lot of people promised a battle, a war, basically, against cancel culture, myself being one of them. And it feels like, in some ways, the things that we were fighting against 3 years ago, we won certain battles, and in other battles, we lost hard. So, where did we win? We won the ideological battle. I think we made the stronger points in regards to where the comic book industry is going. You know, we made a lot of points about how the diversity push really wasn't diversity at all. It was about tokenization. Where Mags Visaggio is at right now, basically now realizing that she is just their pet minority, I think is an ideological win for what Comicsgate represented. You know, we were constantly saying that people shouldn't be promoted simply because they are of a certain identity or of a certain background. They should be promoted because they're good at what they do. And Mags Visaggio was one of the people that was like a prime example of somebody who was promoted simply because, you know, of an identity. And now Mags is realizing it, you know, and we may see more people start to realize that in the future. That's a W. However, the fight against cancel culture, we took an L here. Because here's the thing about cancel culture. And the thing about the Mark Waid lawsuit some people don't seem to realize is that I have no doubt that Richard was exhausted and wanted nothing more to do with the lawsuit. In fact, I would also say that he is not, nor did he ever give me the impression in any conversation I ever had with him, that he was an ideologue. That he was the type of person who would be willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a lawsuit just to make a point. Just to make a greater cultural point against something that was terrible. He never struck me as the guy. So this was always a possibility that he would just walk away from it. You know, be like, I have more than what I set out to get. You know, this fight makes no sense. So I can understand why he did it. I just don't agree with him doing it. Because again, cancel culture, by its nature, is not about money. It's about control. It's about control of the future. It's about control of the message. And it's about control of social movement. That is what cancel culture desires. You know, if you are of the verboten, you are not allowed to advance at anything ever. If you have the right ideas, if you are on the right side of history, you get to advance. And as such, we find ourselves in the situation where if you're going to beat cancel culture, you have to really beat them. You have to make them admit that they're wrong, that what they did was evil. We didn't get that here. You know, in other ways, there's been victories. I mean, people who thought their careers were over have been able to churn out a living on the independents. That's a good thing. You know, in fact, I'd say that's a great thing. And on top of that, the independent comic book world is more enthusiastic now than it has been in the longest time. However, there's some caveats to all of that. It's going to take a lot of work to keep that excitement there. And this is the year that I think that we started to see declines in people who were still wanting to get their scratch and make money off doing this and hopefully build a brand. You know, the only books that I'm seeing that are cracking 20,000 are books that have art that is mind-blowing. And I mean this by, what I'm talking about specifically is by people who were never working for the big two. They have to have mind-blowing art, good promotion from certain people that have audiences that buy comics, and they have to have a concept that's easy to follow. You know, I think that the best examples of that in regards to success from people who never work for the big two, at least in regards to the campaign runners, would be Peregrine and Xenotype. You know, two of the top 20 biggest Comicsgate books of the year. Both look amazing. Both will be fulfilled. I mean, Xenotype's already started the fulfillment process in regards to getting everything packed together and getting everything printed. Peregrine, I know, is in the lettering process right now. Those campaigns are the ones that, you know, shocked everyone in regards to how much money they pulled in and the level of quality in regards to the book, you know. And they're going to come out pretty promptly. more so than some other books that I'm seeing out there. But to hit kind of the mark where I'm at, which is around the 20,000 mark in your first 60 days, it's not easy. I mean, I'm seeing books that have art that is, I would say, very similar in caliber to what, my teams offer, and they're not cracking 10 or 15, and that's rough. Because I would hope that they would be able to make more money, but for some reason, there's something that's keeping them from reaching that next mark. There's something that's keeping them from that next level. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just interest. Maybe it's just not having a certain idea. Who knows? Maybe it's just not getting in front of the right eyes. Either way, ultimately, the way I look at it is that ideologically speaking, we won that battle. Against cancel culture as a whole, we lost. And then I think sticking together CG as a movement, I mean, everybody hates each other now. And I'm at a point where if this is the end, and if CG is just going to become like Ethan's show or whatever, like he and Preston Poulter then can go fight in the court over who gets the name, whatever. Me, I don't really care. I know what I represent. I know what I stand for. I know what I believe, and I know how I run my business. And that's what I'm going to continue to just keep going with. And I will say this, I don't regret it. I don't regret ever being part of this movement. I don't really regret anything. Because even with all the negative shit that happened, because there was a lot of negative shit that happened to me this year too, the positives were so much higher that the negative stuff doesn't even bother me. It's like, whoop-de-fucking-do, A bunch of people complained about me. Oh no. But I have good friends. And I'm hoping that what we, as me and my circle of friends, what we have as a group is something where we can build together and continue to work together and help each other grow and carve out a spot within independent comics that people can feel like they can go to us at least, and they can get great stories. I'm hoping that in the future we're going to all get the chance to start putting books out more often, too. I would love to get to a point where I'm putting out... Because the eventual goal is I want to have 2 franchises back-to-back. Just like constantly putting out new stories with them. Inglewood being one, Project Lazarus being the other. Which everything I'm doing now is setting up for that book. Because that one's going to be big. If Project Lazarus comes out, that's a big personal victory for me. But as it stands, despite all the trials and tribulations, despite all the nonsense I've gone through, despite all the lies that have been said about me and all this other stuff, and what put everything in perspective was when my dad read Inglewood. Dad and I are sitting in the living room. He just finished the book. He puts it down. And we just start talking about it. And my dad is in it. He wants more of this. He loves the story. And he tells me, he goes, this is, a phenomenal comic book. And you did something awesome here. And I want more of it. And I want to read everything you're going to put out. Because he goes, not just because you're my son. He goes, because God gave you a gift. And I want to see what you do with it. And I thought to myself, that sort of a statement kind of makes all the other nonsense that goes on kind of irrelevant, doesn't it? My dad who chose me, I'm adopted, remember, chose me to be his son, said that he wants more of what I'm doing, not just because I'm his kid, but because I'm that damn good, and that he's proud of me. The rest of the world can go fuck itself. I got the biggest praise I ever wanted. You know? So, what I'll say is this. Everybody else can go their own way. Do their own thing. If they don't like me, I don't care. If they do like me, I'm glad you're here. And from here on in, more comics, more articles, more videos, live streams, so on and so forth. The future of what I am going to do looks bright. There's not a single person that could take that from me. So, I will say this. I am thankful that Comicsgate happened. I am thankful that I got to grow through all of the insanity that went on in my life. I'm glad that I got to make new friends. And I am proud of the successes that the people in the movement were able to get. I am proud that I got to be a part of that. I am proud that I got to see people reach new milestones in their lives and see these new levels that they never thought existed before in themselves. That's something to be proud of. That's something that's pretty fucking cool. Gamergate didn't have that. You know? I am not going to end, at least my participation in Comicsgate, with the gnashing of teeth and pointing fingers and all of this other stuff. It's not worth that. It's not worth that sort of anger. I take the blessings that God gives me. I'm grateful for those. Everything else is so much chaff. Why get emotionally invested in it, right? So thank you to you. To everybody here who has supported what I do and will continue to support. I will keep putting out good stuff. Business as usual. You know, it's not really about hashtags anymore. It's not really about that. It's just about making sure that we can get to the basics of telling good stories. I think that's enough. At least it is for me. So with all that said, my name is Micah Curtis, your favorite vanilla gorilla. I'll see you guys very soon.